Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. St. Lucia's Police welcomes new powers given to it by legislation to fight the current crime scourge. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Tuesday, 4th April 2023. Details when we return.
Hubbard's Motor Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Welcome back. The High Command of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force says recent legislation coupled with other initiatives by the government are invaluable to the police efforts to bring local crime under control. Jason Darius of the DBS News World has this report.
According to Deputy Police Commissioner Ronald Phillip, officers now have greater latitude in the execution of their duties, and this, he says, was desperately needed if the police were to have an adequate handle on the island's current crime wave. The Deputy Police Commissioner of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force reveals that there has been a positive reaction from the public to recent police operations, and with the regional security system officers here for support, there is also more manpower, which redounds to even smoother operations.
St. Lucia is part of the regional security system. We have officers from friendly governments, Dominica, Barbados, St. Vincent, Grenada. They're in tandem with our local police officers. So we have officers on the ground in terms of trying to help de-escalate the crime situation that has happened, especially over the last few weeks. So far, I can say that the operations seem to be moving smoothly. Residents are very pleased, especially residents of Vieux Fort. They're very happy with what they're seeing. The police, we have intensified our efforts. We've intensified patrols. We have engaged in more searches. So far, the operations are going on smoothly.
Deputy Commissioner Phillips says recent legislation to grant the police, quote, emergency powers has augured well in the de-escalation of crime in the South.
Well, we're very happy with the legislation because it gives the police more powers to operate. Now that the area is declared an escalated crime area, police officers can, once police officers are operating in good faith, it is important to note that the legislation speaks to good faith. So once police officers are operating in good faith, it gives police officers more search powers in terms of the arrest, how long somebody can be detained for. So this is good for law enforcement.
Human rights activists have, however, questioned these, quote, emergency powers given to the police, indicating that they stand to infringe on one's human rights. Deputy Commissioner Phillip, however, asserts that the RSLPF is a professional organization that holds the rights of everyone in high regard. He further emphasized that there are steps that people can take if they feel like their rights have been trampled upon.
Well, as far as I know, we are a professional police organization, and during our briefing, we always speak to officers in terms of respecting the rights of others. Again, the legislation does not speak to violating human rights. It specifically states that officers who act in good faith, and acting in good faith, for one to act in good faith, they must uphold the values of the police force, which speaks to professionalism. So again, if persons have any complaints, if they think that their rights are being trampled on, there are mechanisms in place. There is the police complaints unit. If you figure that the police officer does something wrong, you can take your grievances to a lawyer. So these mechanisms have always been in place. But the issue we're dealing with is not one where we're going and antagonize everybody, but the point is human rights activists have their job to play, and the police have their role. So this is not going to deter our efforts. We implore the police officers to act professionally, but we are not going to be too perturbed by the complaints. Again, we respect persons' human rights. The officers are encouraged to behave professionally, but that is not going to deter our efforts. If we have reason to believe that something is happening or taking place, we are going to act.
The RSLPF says that its crime-fighting efforts will continue, and measures are being put in place to ensure that even long after the RSS personnel have left the island, lawlessness will be curtailed, leading to a safer and more prosperous St. Lucia. For the DBS News World, Jason Darius reporting.
A former Barbadian government minister, Donville Innes, returned to Barbados after spending 2 years in a U.S. prison for money laundering. Tiana Cole of HGP Nightly News has more.
Former Barbados government minister Donville Innes, who was convicted of money laundering in the United States, returned to Barbados late Saturday after spending 2 years in prison. The 57-year-old former St. James South Member of Parliament, who reside in Tampa, Florida, was convicted in January 2020 after a one-week trial on 1 count of conspiracy to commit money laundering and 2 counts of money laundering related to his laundering of US $36,000. Prosecutors said he moved bribe payments from the Insurance Corporation of Barbados through a New York dental company between 2015 and 2016. Innes served a shortened sentence for good behavior. Speaking with reporters on the arrival, Innes said it was great to be home, and I quote, "Despite all of the trials and tribulations I've been through for the last 4.5 years, these 5 minutes here being back here in Barbados amongst family and friends erased all of what I've gone through," he said, end of quote.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Carla Palmer of ZNS News reports that police officials returned to the location where an officer in the Bahamas was shot in the face.
Police returning to the crime scene this Tuesday, where one of their own is now hospitalized after being shot in the face and the chest. The incident unfolding around 12:30 this morning at the intersection of Robinson Road and East Street. Police say it all began with a traffic infraction, as officers from Operation Ceasefire on routine patrol observed 3 men in a black Nissan Note traveling west on Robinson Road at a high rate of speed. What happened next has officer in charge of public relations, Chief Superintendent Chrislink Skippings, angry.
The officers, utilizing their beacon lights, attempted to stop the vehicle, at which point a rescued passenger of the black Nissan Note opened fire on the vehicle, which resulted in the driver being shot to the face. I can say that the driver was taken to hospital, where he presently remains in stable condition. We are not tolerating this type of behavior. No longer. It will not. And you will see an aggressive approach on criminals. We are actually waging war on the criminals. So family members, relatives, cousins, girlfriends, ensure that your family members, who you know are involved in criminal activity, speak to them. Encourage them to abide by the laws governing the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
From Robinson Road, a high-speed chase ensued, resulting in the suspects crashing and ditching their vehicle right here at the rear of the Garden Hills Community Park. At daylight, a group of teenagers play basketball at the park site, oblivious to events occurring hours earlier. The suspects may have evaded police, but only for a short time. Police soon arrested 2 of them right at their homes somewhere here in the Ridgeland Park community.
We was able to take 3 suspects who are presently in custody.
Chief Superintendent Michael Johnson is in charge of the Criminal Investigations Department, CID.
2 of them are on bail for serious offenses, and we continue to see this with these persons who are on bail for these serious matters. 1 is outfitted with an ankle monitor. They continue to offend, although being on bail, and continue to offend for the same type serious matter that they are on bail for.
Chief Superintendent Johnson could not say how soon before the suspects will be charged before the courts or exactly what charges they will face. However, he says they are cooperating fully. Still, as they seek to bring closure to this case, their attention is also focused on their colleague and friend, who is recuperating. For the Bahamas Tonight, I'm Carla Palmer.
Trinidad and Tobago's finance minister says that increasing the compulsory age of retirement in the Twin Island Republic is something that requires some forward thinking for people to think outside the box. Colm Imbert says consultations with stakeholders are being completed with views being expressed for and against raising the retirement age from 60 to 65. TV6's Jewel Brown reports.
Finance Minister Colm Imbert has confirmed that the government is yet to make a decision on a proposal to increase the compulsory age of retirement in Trinidad and Tobago, which is presently the age of 60.
It's not something we'll jump into willy-nilly, but I'll tell you something. If it happens, and across it's happening throughout the region, check the retirement age in Barbados, check the retirement age in Jamaica, 65, 66. In the public sector, all those countries, 65, 66 is the retirement age. If it happens, then there will be more contributions going into the National Insurance Fund, and the integrity of the fund will be strengthened. Okay? So that this requires some forward thinking. It requires people to think outside the box.
Such a move can be difficult for any government anywhere. In France, for example, fiery protests and labour strikes have been taking place against the decision by French President Emmanuel Macron to raise the retirement age for sanitation workers from 57 to 59 and for all other pensioners from 62 to 64 without a vote in the French Parliament. Finance Minister Imbert, in his budget speech for fiscal 2023 in the House of Representatives on September 26th last year, said that although Trinidad and Tobago's National Insurance Fund has sufficient money to last for the next 20 years if no changes are made, an increase in the compulsory age of retirement from 60 to 65 years is being advanced as one of the solutions for reversing the fund's declining viability.
We in the Ministry of Finance have recently completed our consultations on the retirement age held by Minister Manning with key stakeholders, including trade unions and business organizations. These discussions would inform our policy agenda for putting the National Insurance Fund of the NIB on a long-term sustainable basis.
Jewel Brown again fills us in on the new president of the Prisons Officers Association, who says that his union has no plans to accept the government's 4% wage offer, as the Prison Services First Division Officers Association did on Friday.
On Saturday, Saran Richards handed over the position of president of the Prison Officers Association to Gerard Gordon. TV6 News spoke with the prison officer, now in charge of the union, which represents 2nd Division prison officers, about the 4% wage offer which has been accepted by the Prison Service First Division Officers Association.
They have no documentation of being recognized as a bargaining unit. They have nothing, so they don't exist. What has happened over the years is this is where common courtesy has led to some people believing that they are more than they actually are. And I am 100% certain that the chief personnel officer is very aware of this.
On Friday, Chief Personnel Officer Commander Dr. Daryl Dendial thanked the Prison Service First Division Officers Association for accepting the government's final offer of 4% for the periods 2014 to 2016 and 2017 to 2019, as the CPO and the Prison Officers Association are before the Industrial Court's Special Tribunal.
But we did not place ourselves before the Special Tribunal. So, going forward, Mr. Colm Imbert, the Minister of Finance, is the only one to take us out of the Special Tribunal.
Mr. Gordon spoke with his association's members about his reaction to the announcement about the First Division Officers' settlement.
Most laughable, ridiculous news I've ever heard in my life. It's not until the reporter actually sent the release from the CPO that I got serious, because I really thought it was a joke. So we have some battles ahead. I'm telling you all that we are prepared to stay the course unless otherwise guided by the membership. But our dates remain the same.
Those dates are special tribunal hearings due in the first week of May. The CPO said he remains hopeful that the Second Division Association of the Prison Service would reconsider its position and accept the offer.
Hubbards is once again innovating the way you shop with its new online store, providing 24-hour shopping convenience. You can shop now for appliances, hardware, houseware, building material, and more. Free delivery island-wide. Start shopping now at hubbardsHardware.gd. Safe, convenient, reliable.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.